Now I'm going to show you a picture, and I'd like you to tell me which episode of the Sweeney this comes from. If anyone remembers the Sweeney, it was a great crime police drama of the 1970s. So there's this picture of it's from the Sweeney, and this one here as well from the Sweeney. You can see they're bundling this guy, this villain, into the back of a transit van, and this is 1972. But actually, I'll just tell you this: it's not the Sweeney. This is a real picture of someone being bundled into a police van, and his name is Jonathan Rosenhead, and this was in 1972. How are you doing, Jonathan?
I'm fine, thank you.
You don't look very similar to the guy you were then in 1972. Did you wear flares then? Were you wearing flares?
I was wearing flares, almost certainly, and I had hair.
And well, I wasn't going to say that, but I can't tell you. So can you tell us what happened in 1972 that got you bundled into the back of a van?
Yeah, this was all about anti-apartheid activities. I was involved in that back then. I was even briefly on the executive of the anti-apartheid movement, but that, like some political organizations, was a bit cautious. And there was an activity called the Stop the 70s Tour, which grew up to be a bit more militant. And the thing was, there was due to be a tour by a South African cricket team to Britain in 1970. And there was a lot of concern about apartheid South Africa. And the sporting boycott was one of the main pressures on South Africa at that time. And thanks to a young school student called Peter Hain, now Lord Peter Hain, and ex-Labour cabinet minister, but he was a young liberal. This movement grew up to stop the South African cricket team, which was, of course, based entirely white, from coming to this country. And there were massive demonstrations around the country. And then we realized, that was a year before, that was 69. Then we realized there was a South African rugby team coming in the winter, and there were major demonstrations and lots of direct action, people getting on the pitch and interfering with the play and so on. And the government in the end pulled the plug on the cricket tour that was coming the next season. So that was a victory. And some of us wanted to go on with that kind of direct action. Stop the 70s Tour itself was wound up. But on this occasion in 1972, just a couple of years later, some of us who'd been involved in the Stop the 70s Tour were still at it. And there was a rugby team that we've been told by friendly journalists was going to leave from Heathrow Airport on this particular day. And they were leaving from a hotel just outside Richmond. So we descended on the car park with all sorts of, about 20, 25 people. We drove some cars in to block the coach in the car park. We had a skip delivered, and the skip came in just at the moment when the bus would have wanted to be getting out. So there was a sort of mayhem. And 15 or 16 of us got arrested. The police descended and swooped. What we didn't know, and this is why it's news nowadays, I think, is that one of the 16 people who was arrested was an undercover policeman. And we didn't discover this until about 3 or 4 years ago, when, because there was the Spy Cops inquiry, all kinds of police records started getting pulled out and made available. And somebody spotted my name on some documents. We then discovered that this guy, who we still don't know his real name, under a fake name, had come along on the day of the demonstration. We don't know how he knew about it. He claims he went to Peter Hain's house claiming to be a young liberal, and that his mother said, "Oh, there's something interesting going on today, you should join them." But we don't think that's plausible, because she was a seasoned anti-apartheid activist. They're from South Africa. So we think that they were probably bugging phones or something. Anyhow, this guy turns up at the house of one of our demonstrators where we did the planning. Then we went along to the site, and the police swooped on us. Now, this guy never, of course, he didn't say, I'm an undercover cop. He was arrested. He couldn't tell even the police that he was another policeman. So he was arrested. He was charged and convicted with us under his false name. Not only that, he sat in on all the discussions we had with our defense lawyer. So, and he was feeding that information to the police, saying this is what the defense is going to be. The defense was very simple. We were in a hotel car park, and they claimed we were in the street, and therefore they charged us with obstructing the highway. So all the police who came on, well, there was only one policeman, but all the evidence they gave was, no, this is absolutely in the street, and these people we got them bang to right. So I was fined £10 and £10 costs, which was a lot of money in those days, not so much nowadays. And then I remained this guilty convict for 50 years. Anyhow, I didn't.
But here's a picture of you outside the Crown Courts this week, 50 years later, having got justice. So what do you think about these is this something we have to watch out for in activism? I mean, these undercover cops and stuff, the spy cops issue came up, obviously, this new legislation. Are we just going to be looking over our shoulders all the time at who might be a copper?
Well, I think it's well to be aware of the possibility. That's one of the things we should learn, which is the state is increasing its repression and building in all kinds of new penalties and things that you're not supposed to do, and giving themselves more power. So yes, that does happen, I'm afraid. I would also like to say that there is a parallel between what we were doing back then, the boycott of South Africa and the boycott of Israel nowadays. And the boycott of South Africa was much more intense in terms of the things we wouldn't do. But we have a case of two apartheid states and very similar methods used by both of them. And I think we need to keep moving forward on this.
Right. Well, look, I'm really pleased that you could come on and talk about this. When I saw the report in the paper and I saw your name, so it's not that guy. He was on last week talking about the NUS anti-Semitism report. It's such a coincidence that you had this big story. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll have a party at the Star and Garter for you at the end of the year.
We're actually going to take the thing is I got for my £20 fine and cost, I got multiplied by 10 for inflation. I'm getting £200 back. So we're going to take our solicitor, who's an excellent guy, and because I wasn't the only person who got exonerated, there were three of us. We're going to take him to dinner at the Star and Garter.
Oh, you are? Okay, great.
That's how we're going to spend the money. Yeah.